So, picture a kitchen table at like 2 in the morning.
Okay.
Sitting there are the adult children of a man named Arthur. And, Arthur is this community sweetheart. He's a devoted father, totally the neighborhood anchor.
Right, the guy everyone kind of looks up to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But Arthur is currently facing a dementia diagnosis. And his kids, they aren't sitting by his bedside right now.
Where are they?
They're sitting in the dark, paralyzed by grief, and just completely drowning under this heavy, suffocating stack of diagnostic papers.
Oh, man, the paperwork.
Yeah, referral codes, denial letters, all of it.
Mm.
The only sound in the room is just a pen, desperately ticking boxes on these clinical forms. They're trying to decode an impossible maze.
That is a brutally common scenario, unfortunately.
It really is. So welcome to the Deep Dive, everyone. Our mission today is to decode that terrifying, complex administrative maze of elder care and dementia. Because honestly, we have to ask the question, why do highly competent, capable adults suddenly become completely paralyzed when they face medical system paperwork?
Well, the short answer is that paralysis is actually the intended design of a system.
So really intended.
Yeah, absolutely. We're pulling our framework today from a really fascinating bridge episode between seasons 3 and 4 of Naomi Sadiq's The Abundance Blueprint podcast.
Ah, right. Episode 80, I think.
Exactly. It's titled, Did You Know You're Paying for a Nurse Navigator Who Doesn't Even Know Your Name?
That is such a striking title.
It is, right.
Yeah.
And what this source exposes is that the medical system is, well, it's fundamentally built on administrative noise and cold institutional jargon.
So it's designed to overwhelm you.
Precisely. Because think about it. When a family is grieving a cognitive decline diagnosis, their cognitive load is already maxed out. They have nothing left.
Yeah, you're just running on empty.
Right. So hitting them with sterile, echoing institutional language, it forces them into a submissive posture. It makes the family feel small, powerless, and just utterly dependent on the exact institution that's burying them in paperwork.
Wow, that's incredibly bleak.
Yeah.
So how do we fix it?
Well, our entire goal today is to extract the blueprint for rewriting those rules and breaking that paralysis.
Okay, so to beat a system that thrives on administrative noise, the source outlines that the very first step is you just have to stop using their vocabulary.
Yes, the language shift.
Right. The source calls this the language shift.
Yeah.
It's this philosophy of flipping the script on corporate clinical jargon to, quote, bring dignity back to the dirt.
I love that phrasing.
Me too. The idea is that you have to change the titles before you can change the outcome. So let's look at the translations they provide from the source.
Let's do it.
First, the medical system labels Arthur as a geriatric or, simply a patient. But the blueprint demands you rename him a senior hidden treasure.
Notice the psychological shift happening there, though, because a patient is passive, right?
Yeah, definitely.
It's an object moving down an assembly line, basically just waiting to be processed by an authority figure.
Right, like a widget in a factory.
Exactly. But a senior hidden treasure, well, that assigns immense inherent value to Arthur's life right now. It implies something precious that requires active, fierce protection from the people who hold it dear.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. The next translation tackles the system's actual process. The clinic calls what they do case management. But the blueprint translates this to the Wraparound Family Shield.
Which sounds way more protective.
Totally. And finally, when the system looks at Arthur's dementia, they label it palliative or end-of-life care only.
Yeah.
But the translation for this is non-palliative care navigation.
With a very specific focus on protecting the living quality. Right.
Yes, exactly.
And that last translation is arguably the most critical pivot a family can make, because the institutional model treats a dementia diagnosis as this slow, irreversible countdown to the end.
Yeah, just waiting for the inevitable.
Right, which reduces all care to mere symptom management. If you accept the term palliative only, you are implicitly agreeing to stop fighting for Arthur's daily joy.
You're just giving up on today.
Exactly. But focusing on living quality demands the system recognize that this person is still alive. They're still experiencing the world, and they're still entirely deserving of comfort, dignity, and engagement today.
Okay, so changing the language sounds empowering in theory.
Yep.
But, let's be real here.
Okay, lay it on me.
If I walk into a casino, the floor plan is intentionally confusing. There are no clocks, the carpets are dizzying, and it's meticulously designed so I cannot find the exit.
Right, they want to keep you inside.
Exactly. So if I just decide to rebrand the slot machines as joy boxes and call the confusing hallways scenic routes, I am still physically trapped in the casino.
That's a fair point.
So does changing the vocabulary actually bypass a hospital gatekeeper? Or is this just like psychological comfort for the family?
The casino analogy is perfect, actually. It really captures the trap of institutional mazes. But to answer your challenge, the language shift is not just a comforting mantra.
It's not.
No, it's a behavioral modification tool. You cannot dismantle a house using the architect's original blueprints because those blueprints were drawn up to keep you contained.
Oh, wow. That's a great way to put it.
Right. When a family accepts the title of patient, they literally wait in the waiting room for permission to act. They accept an HMO's standard 30-day review period because, well, that's what patients do.
They just follow the rules.
Exactly. But when a family adopts the mindset of deploying a Wraparound Family Shield to protect a senior hidden treasure, their posture completely changes from compliance to offense.
So they stop asking for permission.
Yes, you stop letting the paperwork dictate your timeline. The vocabulary dictates your strategy, turning you from someone asking for a favor into someone demanding an audit of the care plan.
Okay, that makes total sense. The language builds the armor. But armed with this new posture, Arthur's family still has to walk into the hospital and actually face those administrative gatekeepers.
And that reality is brutal.
Yeah, because Arthur's cognitive health is actively slipping. We're not talking about a static condition where the family has, months to figure this out.
No, time is literally brain function here.
Exactly. And the source covers this in what they call their Mindful Monday and Tuesday Tips themes. His kids are locked out by network rules. They're trapped in this HMO versus PPO nightmare.
Sitting on hold for hours.
Yes. Dealing with missing referral codes and administrators who simply point to policy and shrug.
This is the gauntlet. The institution fully expects the family to fatigue and give up and just accept the lowest tier of default care.
So how do you beat that?
The key to surviving this, according to the source, is learning how to weaponize the system's own network rules against them.
Wait, how do you actually weaponize a hospital's rulebook?
Well, an HMO, a health maintenance organization, operates on standard, highly bureaucratic timelines. They require primary care sign-offs, specific in-network referrals, and internal board reviews.
Right, the usual red tape.
Exactly, and if you play by their standard rules, you wait weeks. But every HMO also has legally mandated grievance protocols and compliance timelines for acute crises.
Okay, so you use those protocols.
Yes. Weaponizing the system means you stop calling the front desk in a panic and you start submitting formal, documented demands for expedited clinical reviews.
Oh, I see.
And you explicitly cite imminent risks to cognitive decline. By using their own compliance triggers, you legally force the HMO to move at the speed of your crisis.
Wow, so you bypass the waiting room entirely.
Exactly. You turn a standard 30-day administrative crawl into a mandatory 72-hour turnaround. You basically compel the bureaucracy to work for you.
That is incredibly powerful. But then, right as the family is trying to navigate these aggressive legal maneuvers, the hospital swoops in and offers them this supposed lifeline.
Ah, yes, the navigator.
Right, they present the family with a nurse navigator. And this brings us directly to the title of the source episode. Did you know you're paying for a nurse navigator who doesn't even know your name?
Because it's the ultimate illusion of help.
It is infuriating. The kids realize the hospital is actually billing their insurance for this navigator role.
Yeah.
But this person walks into the room, mispronounces Arthur's name while reading it off an iPad, and just offers, generic brochures while the family is quite literally drowning in the background.
It's totally disconnected from what the family actually needs.
Exactly. So relying on the hospital's nurse navigator is like relying on a department store's loss prevention officer to help you find a bargain.
That is a brilliant comparison.
Right. I mean, they aren't there to save you money or time. They are employed to protect the store's inventory and pocketbook.
That analogy hits the nail on the head. The source draws a stark, unforgiving line between clinical navigation and professional support coordination.
So what's the difference exactly?
Well, a hospital's clinical navigator is an employee of the medical system. Their primary directive is protecting hospital metrics.
Like what kind of metrics?
They're tasked with managing bed turnover rates, accelerating discharge speeds, and minimizing institutional liability.
They are protecting the clinical house.
They are. But professional support coordination, which is that culturally aligned anti-Naomi energy discussed in the source that is fiercely and exclusively aligned with protecting the family household.
Okay, so totally different priorities.
Completely. And you, as the listener, must recognize this conflict of interest. You cannot expect the entity that is actively billing you to simultaneously act as your aggressive advocate against their own billing department.
Yeah, it's never going to happen.
No. You have to bring in or become your own independent shield.
And if you're listening to this and assuming that basic insurance or Medicare will just naturally cover the gaps once your dad or mom leaves the hospital, the source is throwing a massive red flag.
A huge one.
Because the realization hits Arthur's kids hard. The clinical care is actually only a tiny fraction of the battle. The real existential threat to Arthur's family is happening entirely outside the clinic walls.
Which brings up the Wellness Wednesday theme from the source, introducing the concept of social determinants of health.
Often abbreviated as SDOH, right?
Right. Academics use SDOH as a dry statistical term to describe the environment someone lives in.
But the source completely redefines SDOH for the family. They call it the 80% reality.
Which is a much more accurate reflection of a patient's life, honestly. The 80% reality encompasses the food in the fridge, the rent being paid, the physical safety of the home, and the daily preservation of dignity.
And this is where the sticker shock drops like an anvil.
Oh, yeah. The costs are staggering.
The kids start looking into adult daycare to keep Arthur safe during the week while they work. And they uncover these long-term care exclusions hidden deep in his policy that they never even knew existed.
Because nobody reads the fine print until it's too late.
Exactly. So they are suddenly staring down massive out-of-pocket percentages, endless copays, and coinsurance. It's just a constant hemorrhaging financial bleed that threatens to wipe out everything Arthur worked his whole life to build.
And the really scary part, the clinical system is entirely blind to that financial bleed.
But why? I mean, if a family completely bankrupts themselves just to afford basic adult daycare, they lose their home. They lose their peace.
Yes.
Doesn't that financial ruin inherently destroy Arthur's living quality anyway? Why does the clinic not care if the family is destitute?
Because the clinic's legal and metric responsibilities stop at the exit doors. The medical system is engineered to stabilize a biological crisis.
Not a financial one.
Exactly. It is not designed to stabilize a financial crisis. If Arthur's heart rate is steady, the hospital's job is done.
That's so frustrating.
It is. But to your point, if the family is broken, stressed, and financially drained, the clinical care Arthur received ultimately doesn't matter because his environment has collapsed.
So the 80% reality just crushes the 20% clinical success.
Exactly. And the source insists that mapping this 80% gap is the family's most urgent priority. If you do not blueprint the financial safety net, the clinical successes will be swallowed up by household ruin.
Wow. So the system will not protect your assets, and it will actively try to drain them through loopholes.
That's the sad truth.
Which means the family has no choice but to build an airtight legal defense before the storm really hits. And this brings us to a terrifying moment for Arthur's family in the Thankful Thursday section of the source. The arrival of the omission notice.
The omission notice is the ultimate administrative gut punch.
It really is. The family goes to the mailbox and finds this cold, automated denial letter. Their care coverage has just been halted.
Just like that.
Yep. And why? Not because Arthur doesn't need the care, but simply because one vital signature line on page 4 of a 50-page document wasn't legally perfect.
An omission.
Right. Think about a massive software system. You can write thousands of lines of beautiful code, but if you miss one semicolon, the entire program crashes.
That's a great analogy.
That omission notice is the algorithm rejecting Arthur's humanity over a missing semicolon.
That is the exact mechanism at play, because a human being didn't deny Arthur's care, a compliance scanner did.
A machine.
Exactly. So building that Wraparound Family Shield requires rigorous, almost paranoid legal perfection.
What does that entail?
It means getting the power of attorney, the non-palliative care structures, and the advanced directives completely and unequivocally airtight. The bureaucracy will exploit any ambiguity to deny coverage or delay care because, well, denial saves the system money.
So you really cannot rely on a clerk's grace.
Absolutely not.
It's like patching a leaky roof, you know. You have to climb up there, find all these tiny invisible emissions, and seal the cracks while the sun is still shining.
Yes, prep before the storm.
Because once the cognitive decline truly storms, once Arthur loses his ability to answer questions or sign his own name, the system will let the water pour right in through that one tiny crack, and you won't have the legal authority to stop it.
Exactly. And this forces us to look at the culmination of the entire blueprint. How do you actually seal those cracks permanently?
Right. How do we put this all together?
We've discussed changing the family's language posture, recognizing the illusion of the hospital navigator, mapping out the 80% financial reality, and securing the legal documents. But how do these individual defensive maneuvers combine into a permanent, sustainable standard of care?
Well, the source gives us a specific framework for this final stage during Fulfilled Friday. They call it the SGB2B standard.
Right, let's break down what SGB2B actually represents. It stands for Strategic Governance, Boardroom to Bedside.
Boardroom game meets bedside manners.
That is the necessary evolution. Up until this point, Arthur's children have been trapped in what the source calls a chaotic pilot survival state.
Just reacting to everything.
Exactly. They're putting out daily fires, fighting individual gatekeepers, and just reacting to denial letters as they arrive. But operating in survival mode is exhausting, and it inevitably leads to burnout.
Nobody can sustain that.
Right. The SGB2B standard is about transitioning from that panicked, reactionary state into a proactive, sustainable, and billable infrastructure.
So taking it from a family scrambling in the kitchen to deploying enterprise-level infrastructure.
Think about how a corporation defends itself. A corporation doesn't just hope things go well. It has documented standard operating procedures, compliance logs, and formalized communication channels.
It's a machine.
Yes. Applying strategic governance from the boardroom to the bedside means you start treating your family's care like a protected enterprise.
That's a huge mindset shift.
It is. You force corporate medical structures to fund and respect non-clinical community care by meeting their bureaucratic maze with your own highly organized, legally unassailable standard of care.
So you fight fire with fire.
Exactly. You are no longer grieving children begging a doctor for help. You are operating with the precision and documentation of a boardroom while fiercely maintaining the deep empathy and love of bedside manners.
And when a family actually executes this level of infrastructure, the outcome fundamentally changes. For Arthur's kids, the ultimate victory isn't curing the dementia. It's reclaiming his life from the administrative noise.
That is the real win.
Because they built a shield, Arthur is safe on his porch. His legacy is preserved. The family's assets aren't drained by hidden long-term care exclusions.
The paperwork is finally handled.
Yes, not by frantic guessing, but by strategic governance. And because the enterprise is secure, his kids can finally stop fighting the ghost in the machine. They can just sit down, be his children again, and hold their dad's hand.
They engineered their own peace. They shifted from being victims of a sterile system to becoming the architects of their family's protection.
Now, if you are listening to this deep dive, and you are currently living this exact nightmare, if you are staring down a mountain of bills and diagnostic papers for your own senior hidden treasure right now, the source makes one thing incredibly clear. Guessing is not an option.
Absolutely not.
You do not have the time or the financial runway to guess what a hospital administrator wants.
The stakes are simply too high to rely on trial and error.
And you don't have to. There is a direct call to action from the source.
Oh.
Auntie Naomi has dropped the specific mechanical tools to help families execute this exact blueprint.
That's incredibly helpful. Where can they find that?
If you go to her Patreon ecosystem, the link is linktr.e Abundance Blueprint 777-. You can access the literal homemaker and companion guidelines.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you can get the specific document checklists designed to prevent those devastating omission notices before they even happen. They offer health literacy fine print guides, so you can build that enterprise-level infrastructure and stand as an actual legally sound shield for your family.
That's amazing.
Again, you can find all of that at linktr.e Abundance Blueprint 777.
Having those specific tools is really the difference between hoping your paperwork doesn't crash the system and knowing your legal shield is completely airtight.
Let's bring this all together. What have we truly uncovered in this deep dive? First, you must reject the clinical jargon. Stop using words that strip your family of their active dignity and start speaking the language of protection.
Right, change the vocabulary.
Second, recognize the illusion of hospital-provided navigators. Understand the mechanics of their role. They are employed to protect the hospital's metrics, liability, and discharge speeds, not your household's peace.
The loss prevention officer.
Exactly. Third, you absolutely have to blueprint the 80% reality of your household finances because the clinic is blind to your budget and will let you bleed out financially.
They stop at the exit door.
Yep. And finally, you must make your legal documents, your power of attorney, your care directives absolutely airtight against omission notices so the system's algorithm cannot exploit a missing semicolon to deny your care.
It really represents a profound, necessary shift in how we approach the reality of caregiving. It is a roadmap out of the kitchen table
It
paralysis.
definitely is.
But, as we close this deep dive, there is an uncomfortable, lingering question that this entire framework forces us to confront.
Oh, what is that?
Well, if providing basic fundamental dignity for our aging parents requires everyday families to deploy enterprise-level infrastructure and master boardroom games just to get the care they deserve, what does that actually reveal about the true nature of the healthcare industry?
Man, that is a heavy question.
It is. So take a hard, honest look at your own family's legal and financial shields today. If a crisis hit tomorrow, are they truly legally airtight, or are you just sitting there hoping it won't rain?